Good morning. I'm Faye Thompson. This morning we're going to do a cake recipe that was my mother's. We only had it once a year. I have so many fond memories of this cake because it has a lot of black walnuts in it. Black walnuts grow in the wild in the Delta of Arkansas. They grow in a real hard shell, and we had to pick those walnuts out to put in his cake, and I hated that every year. It was awful. We'd get a block of wood and a hammer, and we'd crack them, and then we'd take some kind of little sharp instrument like a nail or something and pick those things out. And now you can order these. They're not real plentiful in your store unless they're in real small bags, and that's too expensive when you start doing things like this cake because it has a lot of them in it. I want to tell you, I order mine, and you can look this up on Amazon. Order mine from Hammond's Nut Emporium, and they're up in Missouri. It's Stockton, Missouri. So I thought I'd run that by you because I had trouble one time. Of course, they have all this internet stuff now, and you don't have trouble we had. We're going to start out with 1 cup of butter, and I left it out to soften overnight. I wanted to leave this butter out so it'd be soft. What we're going to do is cream our butter and our sugar first in the mixer. We're going to put 2 cups of sugar. That was 1 cup of butter and 2 cups of sugar. And we're going to carry this over to the mixer. While that's mixing, we're going to spray our pan. This is a large cake, so it takes 3 cake pans. And I think these are 9-inch pans. I'm pretty sure they are. And I'm going to spray some Joy on them. You can do some kind of butter or shortening base and with flour if you want to, but to me this is so much easier. We're going to add 4 eggs, and I've left them out overnight, room temperature. Everything that you bake with, it's a lot better off if you use room temperature eggs. And the reason I don't beat these eggs separately is because if you buy a certain kind of eggs, you don't have to worry about them being ruined. We have 3 cups of self-rising flour. Now, you know, all the older ladies back when I was a child, they didn't use plain flour. They didn't have but 1 flour, so they used the self-rising. And we have 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of baking powder in this. We got to have a teaspoon of vanilla flavoring. So now we're going to start mixing it with this batter over here. And we're going to have to alternate with our milk too. We've got 1 cup of milk. If you wonder what kind of mixer I have, we built this house 45 years ago, and it's a Ronson food mixing unit. It fits down in the cabinet and has all the attachments under it here, and I really have enjoyed it, but I don't think you can get parts for it anymore. It's a pretty dough. This was our Christmas cake, and my mother had it every Christmas. We're going to put in 1 cup of coconut, cup of pecans, and here is our black walnuts. To me, black walnuts is one of the best tasting nuts that you can get. I think that is just about right. I've always enjoyed it. We had it every Christmas when all the time I grew up. And this recipe, I don't know how long my mother had had it. It's real old. We preheated our oven 350 degrees, and this cake usually cooks in about 30 minutes. Our cake is ready to go in the oven. Hey Google, Call me in 30 minutes.
Done. Your alarm's set for 10:58 a.m.
Okay. Now we're going to do the icing for the nut cake that we making. You have to really be careful with it and not mix it too hard. It's just a caramelized icing anyway, so we're going to start off with 2 cups of butter. I don't know if that scares you, but that's what the recipe calls for. Remember, we only ate this cake once a year. I remember that my dad always liked this cake too. And I had a nephew to call me not long ago. He says, Aunt Faye said, do you have that recipe? I want to know if I had that recipe that his grandmother, to be my mother, used to make. Said he always loved that at Christmas time. And so I sent it to him. I hope he enjoys it. Randy Martin is his name. Let's let our butter melt before we do anything else. This is a real rich cake. It's a lot of calories in it, but it's worth it. We don't eat the things that I have made you as real high calorie. We don't eat those every day. Like tamales. We have tamales maybe once every month. Then you got chicken and dressing. I hardly ever fix that except Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's high in calories. And then you got your chicken and dumplings. Now we cook them more than we do other high calorie foods because it's requested by a lot of people. We've got our butter is almost melted. We're going to use 2 cups of sugar. I have it already measured out here. When I pick up things now, I realize I have 90-year-old hands. You know, they're not as strong as they used to be. Okay, we're going to have 2 cups of carnation milk. We're going to pour that in there too. Now this is a part we have to watch so close. We have to stir this almost constantly. And it takes about 8 minutes, I think, something like that. I might set this timer. We're going to use a thermometer anyway, so the clock's not that important. We'll bring this to a boil and watch it, and it's just made like a lot of caramel cake icings that you get. But we have to stay with it. You can't leave this. If it ever starts sticking or anything, you've ruined your whole recipe. I love this old big pan. My daughter gave it to me a long time ago. I don't know what it's made out of. You know, when my mother made this cake, she didn't have a thermometer. She just had to do it by, I think she used to drop it in, to tell if it was kind of almost a softball. She'd drop it in water, and she could tell that way. I think she had a few recipes. I know she didn't have any cookbooks. And I don't know who got them when she passed away. I sure would like to have had them, but nobody seems to know what happened to them. When we get time, we'll go through and I'll show you my cookbook collection. I have some cookbooks that date back to 2 White House cookbooks. I think one of them is President Coolidge. Then I have some cookbooks back when I was in high school, which was in the 40s. I took home economics. That's the way I learned to sew. Of course, my mother sewed and my sisters did too. I had 2 older sisters. We learned to sew because we could buy the material. We didn't have enough money to go out and buy ready-made clothes. We took home economics and we learned a lot. Learned to do some cooking, and we learned to make our clothes. And when I was looking at those cookbooks, I found some of those cookbooks that dated back to my high school days. I had saved them all this time. Some of them are good cookbooks too. Now we've got this up to a pretty good boil now. You can tell when you need to put a thermometer in it, it'll bubble up and look like holes will come in it. I had a sweet mother. She was a Methodist all the time I grew up. It'll bubble up and it'll make little holes look kind of like little volcanoes in it. You know it's time to start checking your temperature then. I might cook it just a little bit longer. It's a little bit past 200 now. So this is very crucial though, what we're doing right now. If you cook this too long, this will turn to more like a candy, and you can't spread it on the top of your cake, it'd be too thick. And if you don't cook it enough, it'll be too runny. You wouldn't want that. So you have to watch that really close and stir it. See, it didn't stick or anything. Looks like it's gonna be fine. We're gonna add 2 cups of coconut. I know this is gonna sound like a lot, but that's what's in this recipe. And we're gonna add 2 cups of pecans. You know, we raise a lot of pecans in the Delta of Arkansas. And the next thing we're gonna put in it is 2 cups of black walnuts. And these are your black walnuts, people that don't know them, and they are delicious. And you see now why I hated my mother to make that cake, because you see how many we'd had to pick out? If you ever picked out a black walnut out of its hull, you know how hard that is. It's tough. We had black walnuts growing on our farm. And we have black walnuts on the farm now too. I don't live on the farm anymore, but we still have black walnuts in this area, and I don't know a lot of people that harvest them. We're ready to start putting our icing on the cake. This is kind of tall. This cake stand is tall, but it will be okay. We have to put it between the 3 layers and then put it on top and all around it if you have enough icing, and usually there is enough. I don't think I have ever had a better cake than this, and I don't think I have ever eaten this cake anywhere else, this recipe. I think you'll say that if you eat it too. It's one of the best cakes you'll ever eat. We have finished our cake now. This is my mother's nut cake. Well, I like to call it our Christmas nut cake, because one we always had. And I can truly say to you, as long as I've cooked, 71 years for my family, this is the best cake I have ever eaten, and I hope you try it. Been in our family for over 100 years, and I've never seen a cake like it anywhere. So I do hope you try it, and I hope you enjoy it like me and my family and my friends, and I hope you join us on another family video. Thank you.